What's up everybody? This is Swag It On with Swagger Gaming, bringing you another World of Warcraft Battle for Azeroth beta first look video. Today we will be looking at the Elemental Shaman. Please remember that everything in this video is from the beta test server and is subject to change. I will do my best to keep up with the changes made to the spec in the description and comment sections of this video. LE Shamans had quite a few tweaks to their baseline abilities and even more to their talent tree, but overall they still have a very similar playstyle to Legion. The Flame Shock passive was the only baseline ability removed from the LE Shaman spellbook. This means Flame Shock will now have a cooldown, and it will not spend extra Maelstrom to extend its duration. However, Flame Shock has had its baseline damage over time duration increased from 15 to 18 seconds. The passive ability Fulmination had its numbers tweaked and now generates 6 Maelstrom on Lightning Bolt damage, 8 on Lava Burst damage, and 3 on Chain Lightning damage. These are all down from 15 Maelstrom generated for Lightning Bolt and Lava Burst, and 6 from Chain Lightning on live servers. Fulmination also no longer affects Earth Shock, meaning your Earth Shock now costs 60 Maelstrom baseline instead of a range, and no longer has its damage increased by the amount of Maelstrom spent. Cleanse Spirit has had its mana cost reduced from 13% of base mana to 6.5, and Earthquake has had its Maelstrom cost increased from 50 to 75. Frost Shock no longer has a Maelstrom cost, but you also lose the ability to increase its damage and duration by spending more Maelstrom. The Fire Elemental has had its cooldown cut in half down to 2.5 minutes, and it also now makes your Flame Shock damage over time ticks generate 3 Maelstrom while the Fire Elemental is active. Lava Surge had its proc chance increased from 10 to 15%, and our mastery has been changed to only affect Lightning Bolt and Chain Lightning. This means that your Elemental Blast, Ice Fury, and Lava Burst can no longer proc a second cast. There were also 2 new totems added in baseline. Capacitor Totem was removed from the talent tree and made a baseline spell. This is the Stun Totem and has a 1 minute cooldown and a 10% base mana cost. Note that the stun has had its duration reduced to 3 seconds, down from 5 in its current talent version. The other new totem is Tremor Totem. This was brought back from previous expansions and removes fear, charm, and sleep effects from party and raid members within 30 yards for 10 seconds. This totem costs 2.3% of base mana and has a 1 minute cooldown. The Elemental Shaman may have the most talent changes out of any class, with only one talent that didn't change or move tiers. In Tier 1, both Earth and Rage and Totem Mastery were moved out, and Path of Flame was removed altogether. Echo of Elements and Elemental Blast were both moved in from Tier 6 and 5 respectively, and both were unchanged. Exposed Elements is the new talent in this tier, and makes your Earth Shock increase the damage of your next Lightning Bolt on the target by 100%. Similar to Tier 1, Tier 2 had Ancestral Guidance and a Windrush Totem moved out, and Gust of Wind dropped from the spec. Totem Mastery was moved in from Tier 1 and remains the same. Aftershock was moved in from Tier 4 and slightly nerfed. It now has a 25% chance, down from 30, to refund the Maelstrom cost of your spells. Lastly, a new talent called Master of Elements was added to this row. This makes casting your Lava Burst increase the damage of your next Nature or Frost spell by 20%. Tier 3 had all 3 talents removed and 3 new talents added. Spirit Wolf gives your Ghost Wolf form a 5% movement speed and damage reduction boost every 1 second, stacking up to 4 times. Earth Shield was ported over from the Resto Shaman and puts a shield on your target, increasing your healing on them by 10% and healing them when they take damage. This has a total of 9 charges and costs 10% of your base mana. Note that there is no cooldown on Earth Shield, but it can only be placed on 1 target at a time. Static Charge reduces the cooldown of Capacitor Totem by 5 seconds for each enemy it stuns, up to a max of 20 seconds. Both Ancestral Swiftness and Elemental Mastery were removed, and Aftershock was moved out of Tier 4. Instead we get Liquid Magma Totem, Storm Elemental, and a new talent called High Voltage. Liquid Magma Totem was unchanged, and Storm Elemental now makes your Lightning Bolt and Chain Lightning cast reduce the cast time of your subsequent Lightning Bolt and Chain Lightning cast by 3%, stacking up to 20 times while Storm Elemental is active. High Voltage gives your Lightning Bolt and Chain Lightning a 50% of normal chance to cause a second Elemental Overload. Tier 5 saw Primal Elementalist and Elemental Blast moved out, and Elemental Fusion removed from the game. Windrush Totem and Ancestral Guidance were both moved in from Tier 2, and a brand new talent called Nature's Guardian was added. Windrush Totem was unchanged, and Ancestral Guidance was buffed from 20 to 25% of your healing and damage being converted to party healing. Nature's Guardian is the new talent and gives you a 20% heal when your health dips below 35%. This ability cannot proc more than once every 45 seconds. In Tier 6, all 3 current talents were moved out and replaced by talents from other tiers. Primal Elementalist was moved in from Tier 5, and Earth and Rage was moved in from Tier 1. Both were unchanged. Ice Fury was moved in from Tier 7, and now increases the damage of your next 4 Frost Shocks by 100%, down from 400%. Tier 7 still has Ascendance, the only talent that was not moved or changed. Lightning Rod was removed, and Ice Fury was moved out. Instead, we see 2 new talents. Stormkeeper is a port of the Artifact Weapon ability, and is a 1.5 second cast on a 1 minute cooldown that causes your next 2 Lightning Bolts or Chain Lightnings to be instant cast and trigger Elemental Overload on every target hit. The last talent is Unlimited Power. This gives you a 2% haste buff for 10 seconds when your spells cause an elemental overload. Note that gaining a new stack does not refresh the duration of previous stacks. Overall, I really enjoyed playing around with the Elemental Shaman. The wide variety of talents gives you flexibility in playstyle, and the new animations added in Legion are gorgeous. I am not an expert with the spec, but the damage output felt on par with most of the other classes I've played on beta. My biggest concern is the nerf to Mastery and the shocks, and I am interested to see how it plays out in a raiding environment. If you liked this video, please think about hitting that like button and subscribing to the channel for more gaming content. Thanks for watching and have a great one.